Well, for our audience joining us here today, we have none other as our visiting artist, Zacabella, sitting down in the center of the studio with two wooden paddles. I don't know if you guys know this, but an interesting thing I learned is that the char that you see on wooden paddles, that's the natural thing that wood does so it can prevent it from catching on fire. Like that's like the real reason, like it turns black. Not that's what the no, no. I'm sorry. That's what wood does to prevent itself from catching on fire. Is getting charred. It's natural. Anyways, our visiting artist here today is none other than Jack Spitzer, working down on the right-hand side of the studio. You can also find Jack here at the museum every Wednesday and Thursday for the remaining of the summer, as he will be an intern and assisting the mall crew throughout this summer. But let's not forget about our other visiting artists that we have here at the museum. We have Zane Scott. Now, yeah, we don't just have one or two visiting artists, we have about 20 of them. I caught on to that. He's like, every time, tools drop. street. It was started by, oh yeah, it was started by Dale Chihuly in his local community. So in the same middle school and high school he went to. Oh yeah, this was started a little bit after that. But it's an amazing program. All these students down here. So the Leslie and Dale Chihuly Foundation, this is their main program that they fund. This is like the #1 program they fund. Hello, welcome to the museum. I'm doing good. Thank you for joining us here. We have Hilltop artists. Later on, we'll learn about each of these students. We're really happy to have them. Some of them are going to college. A little sad to see them grow up. But hey, it's fun. That's what we're here for. Hello, welcome to the museum. As they come through. Well, I welcome everyone to the Museum of Glass. Thank you so much for joining us here today on this very special week. We have Hilltop artist students as our visiting artists. I'm going to introduce to you one of these students, and we are going to learn about the glass blowing process. My name is David. If you have any questions about what you are seeing here today, More than happy to answer questions, but we are going to be producing the pieces you see on both ends of the pedestal later this year. On October 2nd, Hilltop artists will be having their biggest fundraiser, and we are going to be creating the centerpieces that will be going in that fundraiser. Now, down in the center, we have a few different students. Now, down, one of our visiting artists is Tanner Martin, working in the center of the studio. Now, to learn a little bit about our visiting artists, again, we have Tanner Martin working down in the center. Now, Tanner first became involved with Hilltop Artists over 5 years ago. He's currently 17 years old, attending Stadium High School, a high school located just down the street. Now, what Tanner loves about Hilltop Artists that he's become a more open-minded artist and being able to learn how to draw. And what he really enjoys about glassworking is cold working. So after these pieces are done, they will be sent off into a studio to be worked on and polished. You can rest assured that our artist down Tanner will ensure go back and clean up the bottoms to all of our vessels. The glass process continues using a variety of different shaping tools. We're using a wet padded newspaper to control that mass of glass and ensure it blows out evenly. Again, we are going to be producing some of these cylinders that you see on the edges. We'll later go on and practice more of the fundamental shapes like the cones and the spheres. As we continue to shape the massive glass, we have Daria down here, and she's standing by to blow air. When we're asked to blow air, we're blowing about the same air pressure you use to blow out a candle. So it's not a lot of air, but it does vary. Up on the top balcony, there you can hear more of that communication going on between the team. Something as little blowing soft or blowing hard. Our handheld newspaper pad is great for working in one area, but if we want to really shape the whole mass in as a general shape, we will then use a newspaper pad, which is just that larger newspaper used to shape. As the shaping continues down in the studio, we'll notice that we're using a wooden paddle right on the very end. That is to ensure we have a nice flat bottom on which our vessel can stand on. Now, the coloring application and process is quite unique and quite different. We're noticing this pattern that we see on the ends of the pedestal. Now, Hilltop Artists has spent this summer creating this custom bar. The way that this is created, this bar, this colored glass, we can see that process in our chalk drawing. We start off with bundles of cane. Cane work is just strands of glass that's pulled out. And we can see a variety of different colors. Hilltop Artists has chosen select few colors. But what happened is they took a bundle of these canes, and then they stretched that out, heated up, got rid of all the bubbles, and that's what we're seeing here in our bar. It is full with just of these canes that were made previously. Hello. How's it going? Good. Thank you so much. Soy caramel. You don't like soy caramel? I can bring it to you if you want. Well, if you're wondering how this process begins, well, we can check it out down on this end. We have Trenton Kyoto, one of the mentors of the Hilltop Artist Program. Well, we've taken that bar and we're applying the color. We're spreading that color nice and evenly around this starting bubble. Now, due to the properties of glass, when we gather on the surface, it will magnify that underlaying color and make it look solid. Although we now know it is just a thin layer of color that was made previously by the artist. Hello, welcome to the studio. Thank you for joining us. My name Well, for our audience that's joining us, welcome to the Museum of Glass. Thank you so much for joining us here today. This hot shop is filled with these young, talented artists and students. All of them go to high school right now, except one who is going to be going off to the East Coast to Alfred to study glasswing, and we are really happy with him. So we have Zane down here in the center of the studio. He's going to be opening the door for the glass makers to gather some more glass. But we are going to be producing these pieces you see on the ends of the pedestal later this year, October 2nd. Hilltop artists will be having their biggest fundraiser they have of the year. And so these are the pieces that are going to be the centerpieces of... Well, that process begins down there. We've already applied the color. We've already taken a hot layer of molten glass. We can see in the center the finishing of creating one of these vessels. So down on the right-hand side, we have a team of the team production. Our artist down on this end is Jack Spitzer. Now, he is considered the gaffer of this bench. And the gaffer just means he's going to be producing this, and he's a person in charge. He has this large bubble that he's going to go back to a paper marver. Now, this is just a large pad of newspaper that we can use to really shape the whole general piece itself. At the same time that this is going on, we have broken free the first piece of the day, and it will be cooling down on the left-hand side of the museum at 920 degrees Fahrenheit. Everything we produce here today will be going inside of that annealer. If we leave it out here, it will get too cold too fast. It can break, crack, or even explode. To prevent it from breaking, it will have to slowly be brought back to room temperature. So it's going to stay in there for the next 10.5 hours, but the action continues. We have the next piece being started on the left, and down on this right-hand side, again, we have our student, Jack Spitzer. Throughout this summer, Jack will also be an intern here at the museum every Wednesday and Thursday. do we ever get burnt? Well, we do get burnt on payday. But in reality, you learn so many things as a glassmaker. Well, the most important thing is you learn where the danger spots are, and you learn communication. When someone's walking behind one of the glassmakers that's holding glass, they'll say something. They might say behind you or look out. Typically, we're not getting burnt by the hot glass itself. We tend to get burnt by the tools that touch the hot glass, but that is rare also. Again, communication is key when you're working with this hot mass. Yeah, no problem. Even myself, I have this thing where anywhere I go, I always say behind you. And we might be in a concert, we might be somewhere. I might just say behind you. It's just a bad habit that glass making has given me. Now on this end, we'll continue shaping our massive glass. Now the glass maker, Jack Spitzer, he was using the Swiss Army knife, a glass making, a very versatile tool. We slide the we slide the blades on some beeswax to prevent any sticking that might occur, but rather this time we're going to be slipping and sliding on that top layer. Now that Jack's is one of the only tools that requires beeswax, so we ensure that the other tools don't get any of that beeswax on them. It then makes them slippery when we're using them like shears. But that beeswax is really going to ensure that no glass will stick to, or no scratches will be left behind. Hello, welcome to the museum. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer questions. The one on the left. So we have these steel tables all around the studio. These steel tables are used to shape the mass of glass by rolling back and forth. We call this process marvering the glass. Typically, these tables were made out of a solid slab of marble, and that's where we get that term marvering from. However, nowadays we use a steel counterpart, which does the same thing, just at a lower cost, of course. And it also doesn't crack under enormous temperature how marble does. Either way, it is a great shaping tool. In a way, we can get rid of a lot of heat on the surface of our mass. Jack, that looks good, my guy. For our audience that just came into the museum, welcome. We thank you for joining us. The process continues down in the center. We have another glassmaker down here on this end. We have Daria. Now, Daria's standing by to blow air in the blowpipe at any given time. This is the actual glass blowing part of glass making. She's waiting and she's listening for key words. Something as little as blow gently or blow hard will dictate how much air she blows through that blowpipe. Now, one of our artists down here, I talked a little bit about what Daria is doing. She's standing by to blow air. But let's learn a little bit about these Hilltop artist students. In this specific case, since we were talking about Daria, we're going to learn a little bit more about her. Now, Daria is going to be a senior at Wilson High School later this fall. Now, she loves both painting and writing stories on her free time. She also is part of the Wilson After School Glass Blowing, a group specifically made for the after-school students at Wilson High School, where Hilltop Artists has one of their 2 studios. How do we make the pattern in the glass? All right, so I can show you. Earlier this summer, Hilltop spent creating these bars of color. Now, the way that they created this is by making what's called the bar or cane work. So this bar is made with hundreds of these small little canes. They were bundled up together and stretched out and folded. So we see that process. These canes are bundled up here in our drawing, variety of different colors. They are then folded to give that pattern, and then they're also used in a mold to give it that kind of wig-wag effect that you're seeing there. And so that's how these bars were produced, and Hilltop Artists has brought a variety of these bars to use here today during their residency. I will show you a little bit up close of that pattern. I'm going to pass out one of these pieces. These are just the kind of the leftover trimmings. So we're going to pass it around so we can see what that pattern will actually look like when it's complete. How do we stick it on to begin? Well, we gather a little bit of glass, and it's used as a support to stick on automatically. We preheat these bars. So unfortunately, we can't just use these right away. The glass will just actually end up on the ground. So what will happen to these bars is first they're loaded into a tray and then placed inside the garage. The garage is a place where we can heat up glass to up to 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. There, the bar will sit for about 30 minutes to be preheated. Then, while it's hot, we can stab it up, pick it up, and use it for the next piece. Yeah, essentially, it is a kiln. So we see the start of the next piece down here. Trent has gathered glass. He shaped it. He blew some air bubble. He blew air. Due to this pressure environment that he's created, the air has no place to go but to pierce a small bubble in the mass of glass. And that is our beginning bubble for these vessels. The blades as like the paddles and oh yeah, I'm more than happy to explain these process. So we have a variety of handheld tools that we use. We're also using wet pads of newspaper. So you see it's kind of like a rag. That is the newspaper that we use. I'm going to pass you this so you can pass it around to everyone else. It's a little color. But the tools, we'll jump and we'll dive deep into the coloring itself or the way that we shape it. But for this instance, down in the center, we always have someone with wooden paddles. That is to shield the gaffer, the person manipulating the mass of glass, from the heat that radiates free off the vessel itself. Down here in the center, notice we're using that larger pad of newspaper to shape. And then down on the right-hand side, we're in the center of centering. On our top screen, where we're seeing the beginning coloring application. So if you're wondering how color is added, well, we take that bar, we heat it up, and we place it on top of an air bubble. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, of course you can. No problem. Well, once again. Oh, yeah, it's fine. Well, once again, my name is David. If you have questions, I am more than happy. No, you're totally fine. I am more than happy to answer any questions that you may have about today's demonstration. Once again, we are creating centerpieces for this year's Hilltop's Artist Annual Luncheon, which is their biggest fundraiser they host. Hello. Hello, welcome to the museum. Let me bring you over a little bit of color so we can see what they're working with. Now, this is just a little scrap piece that we have left over, but you're seeing the beginning process. So we take this, we heat this up. You can take it, kind of inspect it, check it out. I hope you enjoyed the Hilltop Artist. Thank you so much for coming down here. This is what we're all about here. This is what the museum is all about, is helping our local community also. Yeah, no problem. Well, I can explain that process, but it looks like you already have someone with you that could explain that process too. But if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm more than happy. But sit back, relax, and enjoy. Now, down in the center, we brought over what's called a punty. The punty is the transfer rod we use so we can begin to work on the opposite end. This move you're seeing is called the centering. We're ensuring that our vessel is going to turn on the same plane as the rod, and it's not going to wobble. If we don't fix this move here, later on when we're adjusting this piece and finishing up, you'll notice that it's a little lopsided to one area. So to ensure that we have a nice symmetrical vessel and it's aesthetically pleasing, we take this small heat and we just center everything up. And this is one of the more difficult moves because it just takes experience to see the lopsidedness, but also to actually push it back on center. Towards the tip, that color has become red and orange. And what we're seeing is the heat distorting the true color of the glass. It doesn't matter what color we work with, it always turns red and orange. The colors in glass are made by adding different metals of the periodic table of elements. Different metals produce a different color. Take, for instance, this blue that we're using here to create blue glass. We can add cobalt and lapis. To create green glass, we may add chromium or iron. Purple glass is created by adding manganese, and by adding a lot of manganese, you can produce black. Point is, it's specifically metals that give us color. We purchase our color already with all the metals already added, so we're not really creating the colors themselves. Rather, it's already been done for us. It is possible for this museum to make color. Take, for instance, our two furnaces that we have at the museum. They're both holding approximately 1,000 pounds of glass. If we add a little bit of cobalt in our furnace, everything inside that furnace will become blue, which may be cool. So everything we make will be blue. But after a while, we'll realize everything we make is blue. So instead of doing that, we melt clear glass, which gives us the ability to use the full range of the color spectrum. If you're joining us, welcome to the Museum of Glass. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is David. If you have any questions, I am more than happy to answer any questions. However, we do have the Hilltop Artist Students, a nonprofit organization in our local community. Now they serve over 900 students annually across a few different programs. They have a studio located at Wilson High School and also Jason Lee Middle School. Hilltop Artists is an amazing program. It's just like PE or choir. It's a 55-minute class, an elective that they can take if they like to. Now, what makes Hilltop Artists so special is actually the mentors that they have there. Hilltop Artists is not here to create glass blowers. Really here, the main thing is to give them a little bit more inspiration, creativity, and essentially give them more motivation to do whatever they would like to do. Well, now that our vessel is complete down in the center, the next step is to cool it down back to room temperature. Everything we produce will be going into the oven on your left-hand side with the green number 1. With a little water and a slight tap, the piece is broken free and on its way to the annealer. What the annealer will do is going to eliminate any stress that may be inside the glass. And just like that, this vessel is complete. Well, what will happen if we leave our massive glass out here is that it gets too cold too fast, and it can break, crack, or explode. What will go on is that the outside will cool down faster than the inside, and this temperature difference will stress the glass out, and that's the stress that ultimately causes it to break. To eliminate this stress, we will slowly cool it down from 920 degrees, that temperature that oven is at right now, back to room temperature over the period of 10 and a half hours. So we won't even be able to see these finished pieces until tomorrow morning. All the pieces we made yesterday are sitting in the annealer on your right-hand side. Throughout the day, as this is cooling down, we'll go ahead and open it and remove all the pieces we made. Right now, it's currently sitting at 220 degrees. When it's around 100 degrees, we'll go ahead and open it, and we can begin to bring out everything we produced yesterday. It looks like down in the center, our visiting artist Jack Spitzer is finishing up his cylinder that he has here. Let's learn a little bit more about Jack now. Jack does do a couple after-school activities with this school. He plays baseball, but he says that glass blowing is way more difficult than playing baseball. Jack is also part of Hilltop Artists' after-school glass program, so he stays after school nearly every single day to work with glass and help out his fellow peers. Now, Jack has been with the program for over 4 years. And what Jack loves about glass in this program is how fun and how physical and mental this specific medium is to him. Now, for our members that are out in the audience, you can always come back to the Museum of Glass. Jack will be here helping out the crew every Wednesday and Thursday, as he will be an intern for the remaining of the summer. Well, with a little bit of water on the end of the punty, we create a weak spot in the glass. With this weak spot in a little tap, it will be broken free, and then we will set it off into the annealer just like the last vessel we did. Well, with sufficient water, a slight tap, this piece is broken free, and just like that, we are done with the first piece on this right-hand side of the studio. Can we give Jack a round of applause and his whole crew down here on this end? Again, Hilltop Artists will be down here on this hot shop floor until Sunday. We're going to be creating the centerpieces that they use for this year's luncheon, their biggest fundraiser that they have of the year. Now, this is going to be going on October 2nd. If you're interested in the area on October 2nd, I do have some of these flyers I can hand out to our audience if you want to support this program. But of course, just by coming in here today, you are helping out the students. You are helping Hilltop Artist students and the Museum of Glass. Yes. How hot is the oven? Well, that's a fantastic question. The chamber that we're working with here is about 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit. If we have a frozen pizza, we can probably cook it in here and burn it in a matter of minutes. We also have the furnace where all the hot glass is being pulled out of. Now, behind this door lies 1,000 pounds of molten glass, about 2,100 degrees, or about the same temperature as molten lava. Our fuel source here at the museum is natural gas. That is what fuels both our furnace and our glory holes. The key difference between the furnace and the glory hole is that the glory hole contains zero glass. It is just a fire we enter to soften and continue to manipulate the glass. Now, we always get asked about safety here at the museum, and what safety precautions do we take, and also Hilltop Artists takes. Number one thing is communication, knowing where the danger is at, understanding that, and letting everyone know where you're at in the studio. Another safety precaution we take is clothing. We don't allow polyester here in the studio, but we do a lot of natural fibers. Cotton is our favorite one. It allows us to breathe. But more importantly, it doesn't stick when it's being burnt. Polyester is known for really fusing to your skin, and then you'll have to go to the doctor and have that surgically removed. Another precaution we take is we don't allow open-toed shoes on this studio ground. You just never know when glass may end up on the ground. The last precaution we take is protecting our beautiful eyes. We always wear some form of eyewear, if that's glasses, prescription glasses, sunglasses, or even just safety glasses. We need some form of safety wear. One of our visiting artists here today is Zach Bella, working down in the center with the white cap. Again, we are going to learn a little bit about our visiting artists and the Hilltop artists themselves. Again, this is an amazing program. Now, Zach has been with the program for about 3 years, and he's going to be a junior at Stadium High School. He also does the after-school glass blowing at Wilson High School. But what Zach likes to do with glass, he likes to manipulate it while it's cold. And we consider that cold working. Now, cold working can be something as little as maybe removing the little mark that's left on the bottom of our pieces, or using that as a decoration in the massive glass. And that's something that Zach likes to do, is to manipulate the glass while it's cold. As all this action's going on here, we're learning about glass, I do want to take a moment and talk about one of our other students that we have here. Now, we have Zane Scott down here. We're so proud of Zane. Can we give Zane a round of applause? Now, Zane later this year is going to be going off to Alfred in the east coast of the States, and we are really proud. He's hoping to become a professional glass blower, and Alfred's known to produce are really talented glass makers, and we're so proud that later, I believe in about 12 days, April 14th, he's going to be going off into an airplane and become a freshman at Alfred University. The blowing process. Glass blowing does have a misleading name. Although it's called glass blowing, it's called that because that's the name that really stuck with this medium, and blowing is like the essential part. But the blowing process itself is very little. A better name for glass blowing would be glass making. Down on this end, however, we're seeing Daria, and she's standing by to blow air through that blowpipe. Right now, she just has her finger over the blowpipe, and this is to ensure that when we're pushing on that massive glass, that we're not collapsing our bubble or deflating it. When we're asked to blow, as you see in this case, Daria's probably blowing about the same air pressure you use to blow out a candle. So it's not a lot of air. A good place to hear the communication going on in the team is this top balcony. There you can hear our gaffer. The gaffer is the person in charge in the center. That is Mr. Gabe Feenan, a professional glassmaker with over 22 years of experience. You can hear him say simple keywords like blow softly or blow hard. Well, we are getting ready to transfer our sculpture, or our vessel, onto a different rod. We bring over what's called a punty, which is the transfer rod. It's a temporary handle that we can use to begin to work on the opposite side of our cone shape. If you're wondering how this process begins with one of our mentors down here with Trent. We're going to follow Trent so we can see the beginning of this process later on. Then we'll go back into the center. But I do want to explain the beginning process itself. So down on your left-hand side, we have Trent Kiocho. He has gathered glass out of our hot furnace. He is now rolling back and forth on the steel table to shape the mass of glass. What he's doing is he's preparing that mass for an air bubble. By pressurizing the rod, by blowing air, then placing our finger, we create a closed environment, and that air has no place to go but to pierce a bubble in the mass. Now that we have our starting bubble, the next step is to begin to apply the color. All summer, Hilltop Artists has spent creating this bar, this custom-made bar. Now, these bars is the starting point in the coloring application that we're using. The first thing we take with this bar is to preheat it. So it enters in garage at approximately 1,000 degrees and is preheated for about 30 minutes. Then, while it's hot, we can stab it up, pick it up, and the first step is to begin to melt this and make it malleable in order to be dropped on top of this bubble itself. Later on, we'll learn a little bit how the crew actually produced and made these bars. But as of right now, let's jump back into the action and see the coloring application process. Well, we have our mentor, Trent Kiocho, who's going to take that solid color. But we also have Lila down here, and she's in charge of getting that color nice and malleable. Now, to learn a little bit about Lila, she's going to be a junior at SODA later this fall. And what she loves about Hilltop Artists is that the environment, they create no judgment. We see Lila coming over with the hot color. She is then placing that on top of the bubble. We snip the color free. And now all we have to do is spread that color nice and evenly around the bubble to create a thin layer of color. Although the end result may look solid in color, when we add clear glass on the surface, it will magnify the underlying color and make this whole piece look solid, although we now know it's just a thin layer of color. Most glass in your home is probably playing the same color overlay trick. It is possible for it to be solid, but that tends to be more on the rarer side. It's very important that we push that color evenly. If we don't, the end result, we'll notice that one side has a little bit more color than the opposite side. So we take our time spreading that color around our bubble. And in the center, our piece and our cylinder is complete, on its way to the annealer for slow cooling. A little hot torch action on the bottom ensures that there is no rough mark, and it's safer to carry around. Hello, everyone. How's it going? How you doing? You guys having a good day today? Yeah, you guys enjoying summer, right? You guys have any big summer plans? You guys major camp, right on. You guys having fun? You guys, what kind of activities have you guys been doing? Arts? Oh, that's good. Arts is amazing. I love arts. You guys, I hope you guys are having a good day today. However, we have a really special program called Hilltop Artists. Now, are you guys from around this area? Yeah? All right, even better. Well, that means that most of you guys here, if you guys live in our area, you guys can become part of this group. You can become a Hilltop Artist student also. When you're 12 years old, you can enroll in the first class, and you can learn how to work with glass. I think it's pretty awesome you get to work with glass. You get to play with fire, right? Fire is pretty nice to play with. It's pretty fun, all right? So my name is David. If you guys have questions at any given time, please feel free to ask me, okay? I'll be talking throughout the process, explaining what's going on, but please feel free to stop me, and I can explain what's going on, all right? Sounds like a good plan, team? All right, I'm going to take that as a thumbs up. So for our audience that is just joining us, welcome to the museum. My name is David. I'm going to be your MC here today. I'm just going to jump right into the action. We have a variety of things going on. We have a lot of students down here in the studio, but I do want to show you what we're making here today. So Hilltop Artists on October 2nd will be hosting its biggest fundraiser. It's a luncheon. In that fundraiser, we're going to be having centerpieces. Now, our goal is to complete at least 55 of these pieces you see here on our pedestal. The coloring applications happens very early, but I'm going to pass around a little coin. This is the actual color that we're using. Make sure we keep it passing around so everyone gets a chance to view the color. Hilltop Artists and its production team has spent all summer creating the starting point for this residency, which is this solid bar of glass. Now, this bar is made by the students, and the way that they created this is they used a handful of canes. So the starting process is these fine lines of glass. What happens, these were bundled up in a giant mass, how we see in our chalk drawing. This is then heated up, folded on itself, and then we use an optic mold to create an even more kind of like a wig-wag effect. When we're looking at that color, notice that the lines are like all crazy and random. That's how this is produced. Now that we know the basics of the color, I do just want to jump into what's going on down in the studio. We're entering a glory hole that's about 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit. The longer that the glass makers stay inside this chamber, the hotter the glass gets. Notice when it's hot, it turns red into orange, and that is simply the heat distorting its true color. Now, this chamber had introduced about 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit. It's what we're using to reheat the massive glass. Essentially, it is a round barrel on its side, lined with fire brick made to insulate and keep the heat inside. Our fuel source here at the museum is a natural gas. That is what we're burning here at the museum. So as this process begins down in the center, I do want to show you exactly how it's beginning, and that's happening down on the left-hand side. Notice we have a nice flow going on. The pieces start on the left-hand side and then move on to the center to be finished. The beginning point is a small bubble of glass. Our bar is then preheated up to 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and we have one of the students down here melting that color right now. We have Jordan Lavelle down here. Now, Jordan is also an employee of the Museum of Glass that we have here. And Jordan is studying at Pierce College for education and also business. And we're really happy for him. Now, Jordan is trying to become a glass teacher later on in his life. But right now he's working down here at the museum. He is heating up some of that molten glass. We will drop the solid color and place it on top of a bubble for today's beginning process. I do want to give a shout out because Jordan actually sells some of his own glass artwork out in our store that we have here at the Museum of Glass. So I do want to show the coloring application. I know we're working on a piece down in the center on the right-hand side, but for our audience that's wondering how this process begins, we can look down on this end. We have Trenton Kiocho. He's going to take that color. He's going to place it right on top of the bubble. He's then going to snip that free, and he's going to spread that color nice and evenly around the bubble to create this thin color layer. Due to the properties of glass, when we gather on the surface, it will magnify the underlying color and make this whole piece look solid. Do you guys have any questions I can answer? I love questions, by the way. It's like my favorite part about my job. So you guys are more than welcome to ask me. Think of a hard one too. I love those hard questions. You have a question up there? Are we making something what we have down here? So this is the process of making the color. I know we had a little coin passing around. If we can have it pass back down to the front, we're going to go ahead and pass it off to the rest of our audience. Thank you. So the chalk drawing that you're seeing here is the process of creating the starting point. So I'm going to pass around this little coin. It's the color that we have here and how it looks like. There you can kind of inspect it and check it out, what we're working with here today. And I'll come right back for it later on. You want to see it too? Do you guys have any other questions about what you're seeing here? Yes. How do you get involved in our program? Well, we have two different glass blowing studios. We have one located at Jason Lee Middle School and Wilson High School. It's like taking an elective. It's like taking choir. Do any of you guys like take band? You guys take PE, right? Probably, maybe in our class. Hilltop Artists, their glass program is just like taking one of the other those programs. It's like 55-minute class each day that you may take. And you'll learn. In the summer, oh yes, they work with your schedule. So if daytime classes don't work, they serve after school. Summertime classes, they really work with your schedule. No, you don't have to be a student at all. Some of our students that we have here, like Zach Abella down in the center, he goes to Stadium High School. They don't have a glass blowing program, but every single day after school, he goes to Wilson High School where they do have a program, and that's where he blows glass for the day. Yes, please talk to your parents. We can also hand you some of these information sheets if you would like. Yes, I can definitely hand you some of those here shortly. You have a question? Yes, so we're making 50, we're trying to make at least 55 centerpieces for our luncheon. All the profits that go to this, not with the peer. Earlier, one of our students, Zane Scott. Now, Zane last summer actually went to Biot, France. He was our exchange student. He learned under this renowned artist called Antoine Pierini how to work with glass. And then later this month, in a few days and in a few weeks, Zane is going to be going off to the East Coast. He's been accepted to Alfred University, where he's going to continue his glass-making passion. So in a few days, he's going to be hopping on a plane. He's going to be a freshman in college. We're so proud of him. Again, we're not here to make professional glass makers. Now, a handful of them will, but the majority of them won't. They will follow their passion elsewhere. I do want to introduce one of our other students we have working on this right-hand side. We have Ellie Sauvier down on this right-hand side of the studio. Now, Ellie's been working with Hilltop Artists for about 5 years now. And Ellie also does Running Start, but she goes to a variety of colleges, but she wants to study writing and theater. She does do Running Start, part of Stadium High School, and she also does choir and theater. And she was also part of the plays that they housed at Stadium High School. And again, we are so proud of our students that we have here on this hot shop floor. They are all part of team production. This is the advanced crew that we have part of this program. Thank you. to the Museum of Glass. Thank you for joining us. Our pattern that we're working with these pieces that you see on the pedestal. Later on this year, October 2nd, Hilltop Artists is going to be having their luncheon, which is a really big fundraiser they do. I'm going to pass this out. You can kind of pass it around. It's what we're working with. So this summer, the Hilltop Artist students have been creating this bar. That's what this stuff is made out of. It's just cane work that's pulled out and drenched. We can see that process down here in our little chalk drawing. So the way that they made these is they took some of the stuff that you see here. What they did is they bundled it, a variety of it. So you notice how much that bundle has, probably like 50 or 75. They then folded it on itself and then kind of twisted it to create kind of this weird wigwag effect that you see here. Crazy lines, essentially. So every line that you're seeing is one individual of these canes.
What do you call those?
These are canes.
Canes?
Canes. Yeah, typically when you go through our gallery or our store, if you see straight lines, probably was made with this stuff. And this is a very beginning one. These can become way complicated. You can twist them on itself, and you can repeat that process like 10 times, and you get a really fancy cane. Totally fine. All right, team. You guys have the medallion again? Sweet. Thank you so much. So we use a variety of different tools. We have a couple tools out here that I can explain so you guys can learn a little bit. I'm going to pass out one of these tools, okay? But you have to make sure we don't drop it, but we can check it out, inspect it. I'm going to pass out the soffietto. Soffietto it stands in Italian for little breeze. It's what we use to inflate air when we don't have a blowpipe, all right? So I'm going to pass this around. Just look at it, inspect it, check it out. Again, these are one of the glass tools that we use here in the studio. As that piece is being passed around, I'm going to talk about some of the other tools we have here. The most important tool is called the jacks. We squeeze down both plates to create constrictions. This tool has beeswax in it on the blades. So we're not scratching the glass, but rather we're just sliding on that surface. We then have shears to cut the glass. Exactly. They're called diamond shears because they create that diamond. You guys see that? That's diamond shears. They make a nice clean cut. We then have straight shears, maybe like a pair of scissors that you may use at home. And then tweezers. Tweezers are oversized pair of tweezers that you may use. We use here to grab the actual hot glass itself. Yeah, we can. Good eye. You got a good eye. What's your name? What's your name? Emily. Nice job, Emily. Good observation. That's fantastic. Hi. Rejected. Do you have a question, sweetie? Yes. I can come back if you would like. It's totally okay. Wait, what glasses? Why does glass look so chewy? I think glass looks juicy. That's funny that you say that. Glass is just an amazing material. It's like no other thing in this planet. Do you have a Rubik's Cube? Oh, nice, man. Don't mind me. I'm fascinated. I can only get one side on those. I can never get two sides. Your dad's gone all four sides. Well, good for him. That's awesome. Well, should we keep this flowing down? Let's pass it to the back of the back crowder, all right? Let's keep it flowing. We can check it out, inspect it. You'll notice that it has a lot of wear. When they're brand new, those things look shiny. I mean, they're like brand new appliances. You know, remember how they're shiny, they're beautiful, that stainless steel. That's how they look when they're started. But that tool does have beeswax on it, and you'll see that beeswax kind of forming all over it. And that's just so it doesn't stick to the glass and it leaves a nice clean marks. Yes, we've essentially applied beeswax at every use. Oh yes, that one's a small one. We have a giant one down here. The bigger the piece is, the bigger Soffietto we will use. And again, they stand for little breeze in Italian. So this is what we use to inflate a little bit more air after there's no blowpipe.
So at this bench, we are stuffing color cups and pulling some black cane. We're going to use the black cane to create stripes on cylinders, and those cylinders are going to be used for centerpieces at our annual Better Futures luncheon.
We chop it all up into little pieces just like these.
Alright, we're taking the cane, we're going to put it in the garage so it heats up slowly.
So then we can roll them up on a blowpipe.
So we lay them all out on a plate, and then Sarah makes a collar, which is kind of like a disc around the pipe, and then she rolls up the cane once they're all heated up.
We take a gather on it, and then Dave is going to block it up, and we'll blow it out into a cylinder form. Teamwork, it's all about teamwork.
What we do is we shape it and make it into a cylinder,
We're clunky it up, we'll get a lip wrap.
and then from there we finish the piece.
So once they're done in the hot shop, they go in the annealer for 12 hours, and they come out, and they come to this place called cold shop, where we do all the magic.
So basically these come out of the nailer and we knock the putties off and it has these sharp edges on here. And you go to the first diamond wheel, diamond grit.
We got this thing called a cerium wheel, it's a natural mineral, and you just polish. Hit it with the sponge real quick, more water, then we air gun it. And it went from being foggy to being clear.
Now, that was the video for last year's centerpieces. This year, we're going to be creating different vessels. Again, the process is different. We've decided to use this cane work. And besides just making one piece, so we did cylinders, we're going to be making the 3 basic glass blowing shapes, which is a cylinder, cones, and spheres. I was always told as a glass maker, if you can master these 3 shapes, you can master any shape. These are the basic shapes that you can work with. And that's what Hilltop Artists is doing today. They're going to be creating a handful of vessels in each color and in each shape. As you notice down in the center, we've moved on to spheres. Well, we bring over a punty, which is the transfer rod. Down on the right-hand side, we have our gaffer, Ellie, who's using a torch. We're going to go ahead and transfer this to a different rod also here very shortly. Well, just by coming down to the Museum of Glass, you're supporting our program of the Museum of Glass, our Visiting Artist program. a great way is by memberships. A membership grants you access unlimited to the museum. But you also support programs like this, Hilltop Artists, the residency here, our emerging artists, our Kids Design Glass, our Wounded Warrior Project. A membership goes back and supports all these programs. One way you can help out Hilltop Artists today is by purchasing some of their t-shirts. They are available out in their store, and you can always look classy down here at the museum. If you're joining us now, welcome to the Museum of Glass. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Our visiting artist is Hilltop Artists, and their team production is going to be down here taking over the studio until Sunday. We are going to be producing the centerpieces you see on our pedestal on October 2nd. Hilltop Artists will be having their biggest fundraiser, this a luncheon where these pieces will be displayed and available. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the museum. You're going to come back? All right. I hope to see you guys later then. Bye now. When it's going to be October 2nd at the Hotel Murano. It's okay. You guys don't have to give me a high five. But bye, everyone. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy summer. Stay in school. So we're using a variety of different protection. Our gaffer down in the center, the gaffer is the person in charge. Gabe is using a Kevlar sleeve and also a leather glove just to give him another protective barrier from the hot glass and what it's radiating off. One of our visiting artists here today is Elijah Riley down here with the paddle we have here in the studio. Now, Elijah is currently a sophomore at Stadium High School, and he plays basketball for Stadium's sport department. Now, to learn a little bit about Elijah, he does have some future plans, but he loves that glassblowing builds communication and teamwork, and that's what he really enjoys about this medium. Throughout today's demonstration, we'll be meeting our artists, all the students that we have here, and about the glassblowing process. I do want to kind of talk about the beginning and where it starts. The whole process is beginning down on your left-hand side of the studio, but we are using the furnace down on this end that's holding approximately 1,000 pounds of molten glass. It's hard to believe, but essentially, all the massive glass that you see on this hot shop floor at one point or another was sitting inside of this furnace at 2,100 degrees, about the same temperature as molten lava. Once the glass exits the furnace, it immediately begins to cool down, and then we enter a glory hole, which is the chamber used to reheat the glass. With just a little water and a small tap, the piece is broken free and on its way to the annealer. Now what will happen is if we leave our massive glass out here, including this cylinder that we're working on the right-hand side, if it's left outside, it just gets too cold too fast. To prevent it from breaking, we slowly cool it down over the period of the next 10 and a half hours, which will sit in that annealer at 920 degrees until it cools down. What will happen is the outside of the glass and the inside cool down differently. Hey, Michael, hope you're enjoying the museum. Michael is one of our volunteers at Hilltop Artists. There's a lot of photography here. But going back, the annealer that we have will slowly cool the glass back to room temperature, starting at 920 degrees and coming back to room temp about 10 and a half hours. Welcome back, everyone. I'm going to let you guys all enjoy your lunch here. But yeah, just keep doing your thing. If you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer those questions. Now that you guys are sitting on this end, you're going to see the beginning process of how we create one of these lovely vessels. So we have Trent and Kyocho. I do want to spend a second and talk about the instructors we have. With Hilltop Artists, you get top-notch glassmakers at teaching you, but you also get amazing people that will really support you, help you out. Earlier, one of our artists said that they like Hilltop Artists because it's a judgment-free zone. Now, these people here are here to help you in any way they can, maybe some advice or maybe just say a joke, make you laugh or make you happy. One of our instructors is Trent Kyocho, working down in the center. He teaches our advanced glassmaking every Friday. We then have also Jessica Hogan down here, an instructor for Hilltop Artists and in charge of really putting this whole group together, our team production. And we are really happy to have them part of this program. Once again, my name is David. If you have any questions about what you're seeing here today, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Our main gaffer of the day is none other than Mr. Gabe Feenan, a professional glassmaker with over 22 years working in the center of the studio. He has students helping him out. We have down here our pole turner, Tanner Martin. Now, Tanner's been part of the program for well over 5 years now. And one of Tanner's favorite things to do is to cold work with glass, so manipulating while it's cold. Well, just like that, another vessel is complete here at the museum. Once again, if we leave our hot mass of glass out here, it'll get too cold too fast, and it can break, crack, or even explode. To prevent it from breaking, we will slowly cool it down over the period of the next several hours, 10 and a half to be exact. Hilltop Artist serves over 900 students annually. And of course, this whole program is free to the students and family who participate in it. They have the studio both at Wilson High School and Jason Lee Middle School. What's your question, sweetie? How many do we have to make of these? We need to make at least 55 of them. At least. Anything more than that is even better. So down in the center, you saw a thinning procedure. What we do is we pull thick glass out and then we trim it free. What happens is when we make a constriction that is a break-off point, we also thicken the glass in that area. So it will go through some form of thinning. By pulling it out and then trimming it free, we are left with an even thickness all the way around. The next tool that we're going to use is called a soffietto. It's used to inflate air on the opposite end. Now what we do is we blow through one end and it can escape through the opposite end. And this is how we inflate our piece after the transfer. So if there's no blowpipe, we can use one of these soffiettos. So I am going to pass out a little medallion. This is the color that we're working with, or the pattern itself. So I'm going to pass it around so we can all kind of inspect it, check it out, see what it looks like. That's what the final result will look like. Now, the way that that's made is we have a chalk drawing down here on this ground explaining the process. We take the canes. Now, we take a variety of different colors and we bundle them up, about 50 canes, right? We then heat them up, fold them on themselves, and then stuff it inside a mold to give it more of like a kind of crazy effect that looks like crazy lines going all over the place. Every single line that you see in one of these pieces is an individual cane. And look at that vessel go into the annealer. Once again, if glass is left out here, it'll get too cold. But look at the crew. They're already jumping right back to the next one. Again, our gaffer here today finishing these pieces is Mr. Gabe Feenan, working in the center, a professional glassmaker with over 22 years of experience. Hello, everyone. I'm doing good. How are you doing today? You guys doing good? Is having fun summer? Ooh, you guys are part of the, what kind of program are you guys part of? Kindercare. Learning Center. All right. Are you guys local here? Browns Point. All right. Not too far away from here. Well, I do want to begin introducing myself. My name is David. Do we have any other Davids here? Usually we have another David, but hey, I'm the only one. Even better, so we don't get confused. So if you guys have questions at any given time, you guys can ask me. I love questions. It's my favorite part about my job, I would say. Do you already have a question? Because I like that. I like the enthusiasm. So the glasses that you wear in that glass, it is possible to make in the studio, but there's a lot of scientific thing that goes behind it. It's really like the carving and the curvature. That's the hardest thing to make. So the glass itself, you're jumping right ahead, but I like that. So all the glass that you're seeing here is being pulled out of our furnace that we have on your right-hand side of the studio. Behind that door lies all the glass that we work with here. We are melting approximately 1,000 pounds of molten glass here at the museum. This is the glass itself. So we were saying, where's that glass that maybe you're making your eyewear or the things we create here today? That is that hot molten glass. Does everyone see that it looks like a little red? It looks a little orange, however. It looks like a light bulb, yes, but that is the hot molten glass. It is going to be completely clear when it's cooled, but right now it's hot, so it's going to look red and orange and gooey. Now, that glass is about the same temperature as molten lava. Can you guys believe that? If we had a piece of paper, it'd just catch on fire immediately. Another piece of equipment that we have here in this studio is called the glory hole, which is the chamber we're using to reheat the glass in. We have Elijah down here. He's been working for the program for about 4 years now. Now, Elijah attends Stadium High School, and he also plays for their basketball crew, for their basketball team that Stadium High School does. He also does glass blowing, of course, down here. He's part of our team production that we have. Now, Hilltop Artists is a nonprofit organization which serves over 900 students annually. We have 2 different studios, one located at Wilson High School and another one at Jason Lee Middle School. The students that you're seeing down here today are all part of the team production. These are the advanced students that we have creating some of the commission work and some of the centerpieces that you see being made here today. Now, the process does begin on this left-hand side, and I want to follow this process so we all understand how these pieces are made. So down on your left-hand side, we have our mentor, Trenton Kiocho, and then we also have another student. We have Jordan Lavelle down here at. On the end of his rod, he has solid color. We're going to go ahead and apply a thin layer of color that will be sandwiched between clear layers. So this is the beginning process of our vessels. We take the color, we snip it free, and we now have color right on top of the bubble. Our job is to push that color layer nice and evenly around the bubble to create a thin layer of color. Due to the properties of glass, it will magnify the underlaying color and make it look solid, although we now know it is just a thin layer of color to begin with. So for my school group that's on this end, I'm just going to follow the process on this bench right now. We have the beginning process starting on the left-hand side and then being finished up in the center. We have a nice flow going on. But for our students here, I just want to kind of make it really basic. And so we're going to follow our visiting artist down here, Elijah, down on this end, who is part of the Hilltop Artists crew. He's part of team production. Now, we learned that he goes to school at Stadium High School, where he plays basketball for their crew. Now, Elijah's heating up the massive glass in what's called the glory hole. It's the reheating chamber. It's about 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit behind that chamber. If we had a frozen pizza, we could place it in that glory hole. We'd probably cook it and burn it in the matter of minutes, too. The longer time Elijah spends inside this chamber, the hotter the massive glass will get. You notice when it exits, it's just going to look red and orange, and that's due to the heat of the glass distorting its true color. Now, what Elijah likes about Hilltop Artists and team production is that he can build teamwork and communication, which is very key for playing something as basketball, but also glass blowing. I did ask him earlier if... Hold on, excuse me about that. We're going to go back in shaping. I do want to kind of explain this process going on. We're going to be using a wooden block. This wooden tool is going to ensure that that bubble, that massive glass, will blow out evenly. It's going to distribute both the heat and the massive glass around the bubble. Now that Elijah is happy how the bubble is blowing out, he can continue to blow air. As we see one of the instructors down on this side, we have James. He's blowing about the same air pressure you use to blow out a candle. So it's not a lot of air, but it does vary. Sometimes we're asked to blow soft and gentle, and on the other hand, we can be asked to blow hard. It depends on how much we're trying to expand our given bubble. Another shaping tool we use is a wet padded newspaper. Now, there is nothing special about this newspaper we use. It is just the Wall Street Journal folded up, drenched in water, and we can use it as a great shaping tool. Now, this newspaper will only last a few days, but that is totally fine. We'll go ahead and recycle that pair and then fold a new one. So for my school group down here, I'm going to pass around a little medallion. I'm going to go up there and give you guys another one so you guys can pass it around amongst yourself. But this is what the color looks like. You guys notice that this purple is that same purple there. You'll notice there's a bunch of lines. Before I hand it out, I do want to explain how it's made. We start off by making these canes. These canes are then bundled up in a huge group, about 50 of them to 25. See in this drawing. We then fold them on themselves, and then after that, we'll stick it into a mold and create kind of like a wig-wag effect, crazy lines. So every single line that you see here in this medallion and in our vessels is one individual cane. So I'm going to pass this out, all right? Make sure you keep passing it around so everyone gets a chance to view it. I'm going to come up right now. I'm going to pass one out in the middle of the section. All right, well, is there any color you guys want to see specifically? I have maybe a red one, a blue one, and a green one, and maybe like a gold one. Gold? All right, you got the gold one itself. I'm going to come up there, and I'm going to hand this one out to you guys. So do any of you guys know what happens if we leave glass out here in this concrete floor? Do you guys want to guess, maybe? It burns. No, it doesn't burn. It does something completely opposite than that. You guys have any guesses? It cools down, but something happens when we cool it out here. It will actually break and crack. So if we leave glass out here, it's just going to break. So what needs to happen is we'll cool it down slowly. On that oven, you guys see that black oven with the green number 1? It is currently sitting at 920 degrees. We can probably cook a pizza in half the time that you do at home if we place it inside that oven. But it's going to slowly bring the glass back to room temperature. But right here, you guys notice every single little... Oh, no, what you're seeing here is just a little mark when we were cutting the piece free. That's a little mark left by the tool. But make sure you guys inspect it, check it out, look at it in the light, do what you need to do, figure it out, have fun with it. Make sure that the medallions continue to move around so everyone gets a chance to view it. Do you guys have any other questions I can answer up here? Do you guys have another what? So what we're making here today, so you notice all on our pedestals we have 3 basic shapes. We have a cylinder, a cone, and a sphere. The cylinder, cone, and sphere are the basic glass-making shapes. If you can master these 3 shapes, you can make every other shape ever made in history of glass. These are the basic and fundamentals. They are also working on another vessel, but these are the students. So the pieces down in the center. Oh yeah, we're going to be creating one of these cylinders or spheres on that edge. How old? So Hilltop Artist begins at 12 years old minimum. You're 10, so 2 more years. 2 more years. And I know your program is a local program. Is that correct? My understanding? Till 5th grade. Now, where are you guys coming from? From Browns Point, yes, from this earlier group. So what's... Yes, 12 years old. It doesn't really matter about grade. It matters about how old they are. What's so great about this program is they have daytime classes at J.C. Lee Middle School, but they also have like after-school classes, summertime classes. They work with your schedule with whatever works. You can hold it on to me for right now, right? All right. You can just keep inspecting it. How old are these guys right here? All right. You wanna find out? So we're gonna introduce our gaffer down on the right-hand side. The gaffer is the person in charge of creating this piece. So our gaffer is sitting down, Elijah. Elijah, do you mind if you wave at us real quickly? Oh, there is Elijah. So Elijah, we're up on the top up here. So Elijah goes to Stadium High School. The high school that's maybe just down the street. You guys know about it, right? It's the giant castle. So Elijah plays for the basketball crew, for their team. He does this as a hobby, yes. This is one of the things. So all the students that you're seeing here are part of team production, which are advanced crew. Right? So all these, oh yeah. You guys see Ellie down here? There, Ellie is using a wooden paddle, shielding Elijah from the heat that the glass radiates off. Ellie does both theater and choir at Stadium High School also. She also does after-school glass blowing at Wilson High School. So she has like a jam-packed schedule. Sometimes she doesn't go to Hilltop because she's busy doing choir. Last year, her actual choir group went over to Europe, which was just amazing, right? So some of these students, a good majority, started when they were about 12 years old. So in about 2 years, you can be part of this program also. Hey, and then maybe one day, you can be down here on this hot shop floor helping out. So what is making that switch? You know, besides having an amazing glass blowing crew, our gaffer down in the center is Gabe Feenan. He's a professional. He has over 22 years of experience. He's been doing glass blowing longer than most of the glass makers you see here on the hot shop floor, longer than they've been alive, including me. So the camera, I was going to answer that question. We also have an amazingly talented AV crew. You notice there on that little screen up there, we all see that clear window up there. We have an AV crew. We both have Vivi and Jay working up there. Every now and then they'll come down to the hot shop floor, but they're in charge of our switcher. We have a pretty much the same system that maybe like the newscasters use or the sports center may use. We have a very similar setup that they may have. And look at that. They can view us here. They can see the top over there on that end. And maybe they can even get us on this edge of the studio. Yeah, and they're really good. They're talented. If you guys do Fortnite dances, we can capture that. I love Fortnite. You guys play Fortnite? You guys play Fortnite? You guys play Fortnite? What's your favorite landing spot? Oh, you guys land at Tilted? Right on. I used to like Moisty until they took it away. All right, team. Well, I can take these medallions. Thank you so much. Hope you guys enjoyed today's demonstration. It is just going to continue. We're talking about teamwork. This is something that Hilltop Artists teaches, is teamwork, communication. Something that all these artists have said that this is what glass blowing teaches them. It gives them the ability to be more outspoken. when you're working with glass, you need to communicate your ideas, but also what's your intention with the glass. And so that's something that they really learn at a young age in working with glass, and they can spread through other parts in their community. Why are we blowing? So we blow the air to expand the bubble, make it look larger. Make it larger, we have a bigger piece, and it gets thinner and thinner, which can also be more complicated to work with. If we put it in the fire and then we blow, it just gets thinner and thinner and thinner, and then eventually it pops. We can create very thin glass. Oh yeah, it definitely is in that similar aspect. But glass can get really thin. You've seen them make a horse before? A honeycomb. Oh yeah, that was here last week also here. So you guys been here before then, right? All right. Oh, you guys are here for. Well, I'm glad you guys are coming back. I'm hoping you guys see something unique again. You've been here 3 times? Well, maybe next time when you're 12 and you're part of the Hilltop program, you can come down to the hot shop floor, all right? You can learn to work with glass. Can you see what? I can't hand those out, but I do have my medallion. If you want, you can hold on to it for right now, all right? I'll take that back here in a few minutes, though. So you guys had some questions about blowing air, right? Is that what I'm hearing? All right, so we have Daria down on the center of the hot shop, if we can get Daria to wave at us here. Now, Daria's been part of the program for quite some time now, and Daria also is part of the Wilson after-school program where she goes to high school. Now, Daria's going to be a senior later this year at Wilson. So now, she's standing by to blow air. So at any given time, she can be asked to blow, and when we're asked to blow, we're blowing about the same air pressure you use to blow out a candle. So it's not a lot of air, right? You guys remember when it's your birthday and you guys are blowing out your candles? It varies. Sometimes we're asked to blow a little bit, sometimes a lot. But we're blowing about that same air pressure you may use. All right, so we were talking about our gaffer, Mr. Gabe Feenan. Why does he have like a foil something on his sleeve? So that is a Kevlar glove. He's just using it to protect them from the heat that the glass radiates off. Yes, his hand's really close and that glass is radiating heat, and it can really kind of get your arm quite hot. Why do we put the paddles there? The paddles are used as another protective barrier, but they're also used to create like a flat spot, like a flat bottom. How long have we been working on this idea? So Hilltop Artists has been here since yesterday. They're going to be here until Sunday, and then next week we have a different visiting artist. That's what we do here. We do something unique and different every single week. Just this summer, we've had over 9 artists just within these past few weeks. But every week this summer, we're having essentially a new artist from across the world. And that's how we operate here at this museum. Why do we put the pliers on the glass? So those are different tools that we may want to use. Now, we've already created a break-off zone, a section where we can break free our massive glass. You guys have a good eye. You guys are seeing a lot of details. So when we're putting a blowpipe away, we dip it in a little bit of water so it can break free all that glass that may be on the rod. It can break free. Oh, yes. You guys want to see the other one? I can switch you guys so you guys can see the other color combination. So for my school group down here, can we get the medallion back? We had a medallion floating around. Do we know who has the medallion? Yes, all right. So I'm going to swap you. We're going to pass around the golden one, all right? So you guys can take a look at this one. Again, I'll come back and check it out again. But for my group here, you guys want to see the purple one? The purple colors? So there we go. Make sure you keep passing around, but take a minute or two. Inspect it. Check it out. Look at it. Look at all the colors. Our final piece will look like that when it's complete. So we are trying to make over 55 centerpieces for our luncheon. This is our biggest annual fundraiser that Hilltop Artists will host on October 2nd at the Hotel Murano. If you're interested in being part of this program and maybe coming to our luncheon, it is going to be happening October 2nd. I can give you that proper information to make a reservation. Come again? That's a good, so you guys notice that that purple looks a little black, right? So the way that color is made is we add different metals from the periodic table of elements. So it's different metals.
So if I put this in that heater thing that they're putting in the screen, it would just get longer and then.
If we put this in the heat, it would probably puddle. It would probably create like a puddle of glass. It really depends how hot you get it, though. If we get it hot enough, about 5,000 degrees, we can boil that glass and boil away the color. So the ones that you see on the ground. So when it's hot, it looks red and orange. It doesn't matter what color. It could be this purple color. It could be that golden color. It's always just going to look red and orange. When the glass is completely cooled down, then its true color will come back. So Hilltop Artists. So they just celebrated their 20th year anniversary. Do you guys already went through the studios, right? Through the galleries? Do you guys remember the Dale Chihuly pieces? You guys remember that huge chandelier, that mini chandelier that we have in the gallery? That beautiful one hanging from the wall? So that man, Dale Chihuly, he started this program that you see here, this Hilltop program in the 90s. Now, Dale is from the same local community as Hilltop Artists. There's a hot shop in the same high school that he went to, Wilson High School. They have a hot shop because of Dale Chihuly. So why is that? Why is there texture on that piece? So what you're seeing is the color itself. The color and the canes, the white glass underneath it, is what you're feeling, is that texture. So we're just creating different vessels. The basic ones are a sphere, a cone, and a cylinder. And that's what we're working on here today, is the basics of glass blowing, which are those shapes. I was always told if you can master these three shapes, you can make any other shape made in the glass industry. So they're all making different shapes that we have around the studio here today. You have a question, Aiden? What? How young? Oh, so you guys figured it out around instead of asking how old are you, you're saying how young are you? That's a nice curveball you have. You're throwing. So the glass makers we have here at the Museum of Glass, they're really talented. So we introduced Mr. Gabe Feenan. He's our gaffer in the center. Gabe has been working with glass for over 22 years, longer than I've been alive. I'm 21 years. Gabe has been doing it longer than I've been alive. I can't answer that question. They're asking how old he is.
I think they want to know if there's people that are like 40 that are making glass, right? Is that the reason? We talked about that. People of all ages. Chihuly's way older than 40, right?
Oh, yeah. Dale's like in his almost 70s now.
Yeah. So he's the guy that made the fountain outside.
That was a different artist.
Was it a different artist?
The Chihuly bridge. All that piece is designed by him.
Okay. Where's the glass thing?
I have it. okay. I hope you guys enjoyed today's demonstration. If you guys have more questions, I'll be just floating around the studio. But it was a pleasure meeting you all. I love all your questions. Please come back. You said you've been here 3 times before, right? So hope to see you some other time later this summer or later this year. You'll be coming back next year? All right. I'll mark it down in my calendar. All right. Well, I hope to see you guys sooner than next year. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. Later on this year, we're going to be changing out some of our collections. You're going to be seeing a Preston Singletary collection that's going to be going inside our studio. He is an amazing artist. We're really excited to have him. All right? But I hope to see you guys later on, right? You guys said you'll be coming back later next year. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Bye, everyone. See ya. Can I have my medallion back, by the way? Thank you. I'm not going to drop this on the sign. All right. Bye, team. Bye, team. Bye. Bye, everyone. Take care. Take care. Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone. Take care. Oh, too slow. It's okay. See you, everyone. Take care. Enjoy everything.
How do they make the shapes?
How do we make the shapes? We are talented artists. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye now. Thank you. All right. Well, that vessel's just finishing up. If we leave it out here, it'll get too cold too fast, and it can break or crack. So we will set it inside the annealer on your left-hand side. Thank you so much for joining us. You enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. No problem. Thank you so much for joining us. All right. Well, the students are finishing up. We have one more piece being made on the right-hand side. We're going to finish this piece up, and then we're going to take our lunch break. But I am going to go down there, explain the process going on from start to ending on this vessel. All right, well, let's learn about the process down on the left hand, on your right hand side of the studio. Again, after this, we are going to be taking our lunch break, but until then, let's learn a little bit about the glass process we see here today. Now, I do want to let you know that here in a few weeks also, the students, some of the students that you see here will be teaching classes at the Museum of Glass. They're going to be teaching how to make apples. So if you want to make an apple down here on this hot shop floor, we are now signing up people on our front desk. But with that said, let's find out about the crew you see here working. Our gaffer is Elijah, working in the center of the studio. We learned that he's a student at Stadium High School, who also plays for their basketball team. So assisting this crew right now, we have Ellie. Now, Ellie is also attends Stadium High School, and she's using these wooden paddles. She's standing by to both shield our gaffer, Elijah, from any heat that may radiate off, but also to create a flat spot on the top a nice flat lip. Now notice that one paddle is shielding Elijah, the other paddle is right on that lip to ensure we have a nice even opening. This is what glassmaking is really all about, is teamwork, and this is something they teach, is learning how to communicate your ideas, learning how to play and work with one another. Now, notice that there is a hierarchy going on in the studio. We have our gaffer, which is a person in charge, but then we have the pole turner. In this case, we have Julian Goza. He attends Wilson High School, so it's a different high school, but they also have a glass blowing program. Now, Elijah will go to a wet padded newspaper that we have here. We have a handheld newspaper pad. You want to go a little higher? Yeah. Lower. Yep. Spin fast. This is fast. Centrifugal force should pull the walls out. So you shouldn't worry about landing the very back. The back is already your base. That looks pretty good, Elijah. Just a little bit more. If you're joining us now, welcome to the Museum of Glass. We are just going to finish up this cylinder that we have here at the museum, and then we're going to go ahead and take our lunch break, but we will be back in about 1 hour after this piece is complete. We are making centerpieces for Hilltop Artists Luncheon. This is their biggest fundraiser that they will have on October 2nd at the Hotel Murano. If you're interested in supporting this program, I can give you that proper information to attend this luncheon. Now, it doesn't really matter what newspaper we use, but I gotta admit, the museum is quite picky. We only burn the Wall Street Journal. That is our preferred newspaper here at the studio. We will drench it in water and burn right through this newspaper. I like that look, though. I gotta admit, I do like that barrel look. It looks like barrel. So the shapes that the students are working on here today are the basic 3 shapes: a cone, sphere, and cylinder. I was always told as a glass maker, if you can master these 3 shapes, you can create every other shape ever made. So helping out the crew that we have working on this end, we have one of the instructors. We have James Downey down here at the museum. What makes Hilltop so special is the instructors that they have here. They're here to motivate the students, give them more pride, help them out with whatever they may. And this is what really makes the program so special, is just the support system that they have. And just essentially mentors like James that's always helping out these students, making them laugh, making them enjoy glass making any way that they can, but most importantly, being a support to them, helping them out in any way that may be. Well, now that we're almost complete with this vessel, the next step is to set it into an annealer, which is the oven that will bring our massive glass back to room temperature. If we leave it out here, it just gets too cold too fast. It can break, crack, or even explode. So to prevent it from breaking when we're done, we're going to set it off into an oven sitting at 920 degrees on your left-hand side of the studio with the green number 1. As we continue to really clean up the shape, ensure we have nice clean walls going straight up, we have Zane. Zane is suiting up in a heat protective layer. He's going to get ready to put this piece away. Now, Zane is going to be a freshman at Alfred University later this fall. He's going to head out in a few days, and we're really proud of him. Now, Hilltop Artists is not here to make glass blowers. We're here to really push these students in whatever way they need to be. We teach them teamwork, communication, and really ensuring that they leave the program with more motivation and self-motivation in that. Now, Zane, again, will be leaving Hilltop. Really sad, but hey, he does want to become a professional glassmaker, and Alfred University is a great place to attend, to follow that route. Now that it's time to break this piece free, we're going to use a little bit of water on the end of the punty. This punty is only temporary, and it's now time to be broken free. We'll go under the rail, and we're going to go ahead and put 2 droplets of water on each end. This is going to create a weak spot in the glass, and this is how we're going to break our mass free. If we have shaky hands and 1 droplet of water ends up on the vessel, it can ultimately cause a crack that will ruin our whole vessel. Now that we have sufficient water to break our mass free, we'll grab the piece free, a slight tap, and it's broken free and on its way to the annealer. And just like that, we finished our piece. Can we give a round of applause to our visiting artists, Elijah working down the center, and of course, Hilltop artists and all the students we have working around the studio. And that completes today's morning live glass making demonstration. Good job, Zane. Thank you so much. We are now going to be taking our lunch break. I will stick around for a few minutes and answer any questions or discuss glass blowing before we head off to lunch. So if you want to discuss about glass, about Hilltop artists, right now is a good time. I'll stay here for a few minutes and explain that. But if you're heading out, thank you so much for joining us. We will be back in about 1 hour. Do you have any questions I can answer? Well, how hot is it down here in the studio? Well, this studio is relatively cool, but we're working with different chambers. This chamber down in the center is about 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit. We can probably cook a frozen pizza and burn it within a matter of minutes. Do you have any questions, Zacabella? Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Again, we will be back here very shortly. Thank you. $2.15 question mark, dot, dot, dot.